Hi there. In this lecture we see Bobby Fischer playing against James Sherwin in the 1957 US Championship, round 7. Let's have a look. E4 from Bobby Fischer. We see Sicilian defense, knight f3, d6, d4, c takes, knight f6, knight c3, and Sherwin plays the Neudorf. Fischer plays bishop c4, his favourite move. Here, e6, white castles, and now a quick b5, bishop b3, and now b4. So, is this an interesting pawn sacrifice? Well, actually, Fischer played the very rare nowadays knight b1. Nowadays, knight a4, this is thought to be actually quite good for white. As an example, if knight takes e4, rook e1, d5, white has the very strong bishop f4 here, and it's actually looking at this knight. So we have this piece looking at b8, and this piece looking at b6, and actually it seems this is very precarious for black. For example, bishop d6, rook takes e4, and then knight takes e6, bishop takes d6 is very, very nice for white. If we look at this again, if bishop e7, there's a spectacular move. I wonder if you can guess it. Okay, 5 seconds. Yep, knight f5. This is really, really nice. If e takes, queen takes d5, looks at the rook on a8 and f7 square, and this is disastrous for black. So, for example, like this is nice and winning for white. If we look at that again, once more, if black castled here, knight takes e7 check, and then there's a weakness of the last move. Knight b6, it pounces in with a vengeance. Bishop takes b8, and white is better there as well. So very, very interesting that actually knight a4 is perfectly fine. Knight b1, theory is not as evolved back then. Knight b1 is a little bit inferior, it seems. But, okay, bishop d7 is played. If knight takes e4 here, as an example, rook e1, bishop b7, it seems as though with knight c5 here, and knight takes, this should be about even, this position. But bishop d7 was played, and we have bishop e3 again offering the pawn, but knight c6 was played. We see f3 supporting the pawn finally. Bishop e7, c3, b takes, and now knight takes c6 hits the queen, and after knight takes c3, we have a shared file here, the c file. Black castles, rook c1, queen b8, and now in this situation, there's a nice little mini tactic that is played. I wonder if you can guess, what did Fischer play here if I give you 5 seconds to pause the video? Okay, knight d5, yeah, hitting the c6 bishop and this one. We see e takes, rook takes c6. So white gets the light square bishop without a counterpart. Can that actually do a lot of damage potentially on this diagonal? So it's a special bishop without a counterpart. And also it represents another kind of pawn sack here. D takes after f takes. But this pawn looks as though this is very, very dangerous to take. And black doesn't. Black plays queen b5. And we see rook b6, queen e5. Bishop d4, really encouraging that pawn to be taken. We see queen g5. If queen takes e4 here, then rook e1 skewers queen and bishop. An example, queen h4, g3 is strong, and just taking the bishop. So, we see queen g5. Queen f3, putting more pressure on this f file. Knight d7. Rook b7, knight e5, and now the queen drops back. Bishop f6, we see king h1, a5, bishop d5, rook ac8. So this bishop looks like a really impressive piece on d5 right now. We see bishop c3, a4, rook a7, knight g4, and here's a critical moment, in fact. Knight g4 exposes an attack on the bishop, and it also makes way for potential crude but effective, potentially, threats on h2. It seems Fischer's move here is inaccurate. somewhat. He played rook takes a4. It seems the most accurate is actually bishop d2, hitting the queen. And if queen h4, h3, putting the knight back. And now here, rook takes a4. And this should be a very nice position for white, even though it's a kind of self-pin, which intuitively is a little bit dangerous. But it's actually fine for white, it seems. But with rook takes a4 immediately, black did have, after bishop takes c3, b takes, a good move here, which is not the routine rook takes c3, but black could have actually played, it seems, knight e3. And if queen d2, h6, unpinning, hitting that rook on f1. And the point is here to get that light square bishop. And black should be in an even position here, technically. This is about even, this position. But the way it was played, because that really gets rid of that bishop without the counterpart, black actually took on c3, leaving this potentially really strong looking bishop. We have now an amazing tactical shot, which required perhaps, it demonstrates really good calculation skills and nerve. Guess what Fischer played here, if I give you 5 seconds to pause the video. And there's a photo on the internet about Fischer smiling, Bobby Fischer's smile. He was smiling about this, showing this game on the demo board after. But this is the critical position. He plays a really interesting tactic. Okay. It's rook takes f7, believe it or not. Now, one of the key points is, the back row. If rook takes, then rook a8 check, and it's going to be mating after the bureaucracy. So, yeah, rook takes f7, and we have actually this check. And the key point here is, how should white handle this check in this position? Five seconds? Okay, Fischer's move is queen f1. This is rather remarkable. If rook f1, this is check, counter check, by the way. Defending a check with a check. But unfortunately, black would win with king h8. This is actually winning for black in this situation, with pressure now on f1 from both the opponent's rooks. And if here, for example, it's white's back row that's weak. And if rook a8, you might think, hold on, then just rook takes a8, yeah. There's no problem, because the rook's protected by the queen, yeah. So this is all losing for white. Essentially, rook f1 check actually loses to king h8, not queen takes d5. In this case, rook takes, this is only draws after queen h5. That check, king h8. This would end up with best play as a draw, because white has to keep moving the king. If the king's not moved, then it's a disaster. If queen g2 instead, there's check and queen takes. So that would be a draw. The logical result is, it would seem, with best play there. So anyway, queen f1, star move. And we see h5 being played. If rook takes f1, rook takes, this is very different to before, this check. Queen takes, we're going to take and then take here. And if here, the back row. And if rook f7, again, the back row is an issue, So, fantastic stuff. So let's go back. So queen f1. We've seen the move h5. And now another brilliant tactical shot is played. Guess what Fischer plays here? If I give you 5 seconds to pause the video. Fischer's really on top of his forcing move sequences. Okay. Queen takes c1, yeah. This is winning material. This is absolutely the strongest. If rook takes f8 had been played, king h7, that it leaves the queen pins here. White's best might be rook a3, and this is only an even position. Black's got threats. It's only an even position, though, apparently. So queen takes c1, queen h4 is played, because if queen takes c1 check, rook f1 check, and then rook takes c1, and white is a rook up. So queen h4, but this is desperate. After taking on f8, h3, and here, just hg, there's no issue. Bishop e6 weaves a mating net around the black king, actually. So if the game continues, well, black resigned, Sherwin resigned. If h3 check, and rook a7 is mate. So James Sherwin absolutely tactically outdone in this game. Some spectacular tactics ignited with rook takes f7, truly showing the tactical brilliance of Bobby Fischer. The philosophical point is we should try and be monster tacticians, basically, to be able to see shots like this. This is wonderful stuff, with the follow-up especially being considered. Queen f1. Yeah, remarkable stuff going on there tactically. Hope you got something from this one. And we've got the bishop without the counterpart showing its strength as well. Okay. Thanks very much. Hi guys, I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you want more Bobby Fischer content, check out my Kingscrusher TV page. And if you go to the bottom of it, it starts at the bottom with 1970 to 1992. I also have 2 other Bobby Fischer courses. I found him absolutely fascinating to study. So there's 1956 to 62, early in his career, and there's 1963 to 68. So I hope you find those interesting. You might want to check them out, all the free samples. And I hope you really enjoyed this video. Comments, questions, likes, shares, always appreciated. Thanks very much.